It took me a long time before I even it was hard for me to even comprehend why so many people were watching reactions. It's so crazy to me that so many people want to watch others watch something they've already watched, right? Now with my brother rewatching Naruto, it's clear as day because I'm actually enjoying it more than watching it for the first time. It's such a better experience because I'm just so excited for the experiences that he's going to get to experience for the first time. I swear I enjoy it more than watching it blind. The feeling is just amazing.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast, now officially on the Reactorverse YouTube channel. I'm joined today by Ron from his channel, Rice and Ginger, and also Identical Reactions. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I'm honored that you reached out.
Of course, yeah. I've been a big fan of the channel for a little while now. I've seen you just in the space over the last few years that you've been, really expanding, just all the work that you've been doing with your brother and Michelle as well. I've been a fan, so I wanted to have you on to us talk about, the ins and outs of what's gone on with the channel so far over the last few years. I think the biggest part of that for me, to get right into it, is it's channels plural. You have two channels mainly that you focus on, one with your wife Michelle, Rice and Ginger, and one with your brother Brandon, Identical Reactions, your twin brother specifically. And it's just like, a really great dynamic I see you putting out on both ends, and it's been a fun ride to sort of catch up on some of my favorite shows with you. Nice. and the whole collective there. As always, we start at the very beginning with sort of the origins of those involved with the channel. Obviously, I think we know how you and Brandon met. I think that's an obvious answer. So I want to ask, how did you and Michelle meet, and sort of just like that personal, intro there?
Yeah, no, it's I moved so I'm originally from California, and I moved to Austin, Texas in 2015. I came out here for work. I was working in tech, and that may or may not come up later if we discuss kind of starting the channel and my first channel and stuff. But anyways, I met her on the dating app Bumble. And yeah, I think I just struck gold, got lucky. It was my first time on a dating app, and within a week I'd met her, and a week after that I deleted the app. And so it was just like I think I got really lucky.
Yeah, when it's one of those things you got it, and like no need to look any further. Exactly. I love hearing those stories. We've had a few of those on the channel so far of the dating app leading into now married couples that we know. Yeah, like they now have with their own channels and everything. So it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, it's crazy that like when you think back, and it means there's hope out there, even through the dating apps, it can happen.
Right. And yeah, anime specifically, obviously that's a big part of the channel. That wasn't something you shared until you got into sort of like watching it on the channel itself. Were there any specific hobbies or interests you two shared that sort of sparked that engagement right away?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons why we hit it off so well was we're both just very into fantasy stuff. So I played a lot of video games growing up. I got into World of Warcraft, Diablo. I got into League of Legends. I still, unfortunately, am in League of Legends in that world. And so always been into that. Also loved things like Lord of the Rings. Just fantasy things that, some people might call nerdy or dorky. Has always been just a passion of mine. I've always loved it. Right. She's the same way. And I think the one area though, or one of the main areas that felt like I should have gotten in was anime. She grew up watching it. Mm-hmm. And she always told me like, I know you'll like anime because you like all this other stuff, but I just never got into it. And so, yeah, we had a lot of things that overlapped, but anime has by far been kind of the biggest thing now in our life.
Of course. Yeah. It's very fantasy adjacent, but it's still medium with just like all sorts of genres and subgenres within it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Before you even got into the channels themselves, were you familiar with the reaction space at all, just on YouTube in general?
No, I wasn't. That was crazy, but Michelle was. Mm-hmm. So, when it was around COVID when my brother and I we were like we need to make content. Like let's somehow make content. We actually started out as a podcast,
Right.
and we were just going to kind of talk about trending topics, like a lot of podcasts do. And but then we developed into kind of the idea of hey, listen, we're identical twins. Being on podcasts, we're kind of missing a huge opportunity. I think the uniqueness is people getting to see identical twins
Right.
discuss things or whatever. And so we quickly decided, okay, let's make it a YouTube channel, but we still had no idea about the reaction space. It was Michelle who had watched Reaction Time, I believe.
Right.
Is the name. And it's like, I think they're like an OG channel that she used to watch.
Right.
And she opened our eyes that like this was even a thing. And so actually all credit goes to her, because it was her recommendation that my brother and I should start reacting to things. And then she even recommended the first few things that kind of popped off for us, which was K-pop, which was a new, like something we had never listened to. So it was kind of a perfect storm of a bunch of things that we had no idea about. But I think in hindsight, that's what the appeal was, was we had no idea about reactions. So it was so genuine. We weren't, going into it with this concept like we need to fake these reactions to get a lot of views and subscribers. It wasn't even about that, because we didn't understand the potential of a reaction channel. Right. And then you combine that with the fact that we had no idea we didn't even know what the K in K-pop stood for, believe it or not. And and it was just a brilliant time across the board. So
yeah, of course. I mean, that's how it usually goes. Just like that intro of we discover this whole new world of material, K-pop, anime, what have you, and that sort of like really drives the interest of, like you said, people are really open to seeing people learn about the culture, about the sort of medium about it. And when you got into that, once you started getting traction with the first channel, which was the channel with your brother, Identical Reactions, did you have any significant learning curve in terms of like, say, the technical aspect of things, recording, editing, such, so on, but also just the presentational aspects of just like being on camera, being comfortable, sort of articulating yourself on camera?
Yeah, I had to basically, when I got off of work, I'd come home and I watched dozens and dozens of videos how to video edit. And so that was the first aspect, was how to video edit. And when we started this, my brother was living in San Diego at the time. So it was also a virtual reaction channel. Right. So I set up my iPhone, he set up his. We would, go 1, 2, 3, play at the same time, like time it. It was a hassle, but it was the only, I didn't know there was any other way. And we just kind of made it work. And it was all done through just research and trial and error. But yeah, I had to teach myself all of that. I did all the thumbnails, titles, video editing. For about a year, in any free time that I had, I was just diving into how to do thumbnails, how to even like tag properly, descriptions, the ins and outs of YouTube. So definitely was a learning curve, a big one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it looked great. I mean, even from the early videos I saw, you put a lot of, work into just polishing it up, the graphics, sort of like all the bells and whistles, I could see you put a lot of legwork into making sure that you kind of started with a big sort of like, solid footing on that. So I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
When you started getting traction with that first channel, what was, I guess, the process, developing the second one, getting into like, Rice and Ginger, and like just like them balancing both channels when he started out?
Yeah, it was actually the second channel was just so night and day easier, because we kind of knew the ropes of things. It was very much like know how to do thumbnails and know how to do titles, creating an upload schedule, all of those things. It felt like, okay, I've already done it once. And at that time, we had already gotten Identical Reactions to over 200,000 subscribers. And when we started Rice and Ginger, it was merely just something like Michelle and I, over the 2 years of building out Identical Reactions, Michelle and I had gotten, like, we moved in and we'd gotten closer. I think she was like, I would like to do something like that with you as well. Because she saw, the fun and also the growth that my brother and I was having. So yeah, when we started Rice and Ginger, it was just like, let's start our own channel, and it actually didn't start out as reaction channel, believe it or not, but we hit our first like 5 videos. Our first 5 videos were originally, it was just like a couples channel. So we would go to like H Mart, eat like, we filmed myself the first time eating a certain Korean food. So, but then she also was like, I really think you should watch this show called Demon Slayer, this anime. And again, I never heard of it. So it just developed into that. And it was natural because I had already done identical reactions. So it's like, okay, cool. And we used the same editor. So it was just like a seamless transition. But when we started Rice and Ginger, it probably only got about, I would say 15% of my time and energy. And there was no real goal of that being massive or anything. It was just like, might as well do it with my wife as well. All my eggs were kind of in identical reactions basket, which is ironic looking back at it, because Rice and Ginger is now, that's the full-time gig. That is 99% of our income and all of that.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned just having that traction, that familiarity with the process to get that started. Were there any like specific sort of like lessons that you learned that you took it to the new channel that helped you sort of like get things running, that you just sort of like knew right away we can hit this?
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of which I find super important. It was a lot of the structuring and the planning ahead of time, and then also communicating that with our audience. So making sure like we set up a calendar. It was very organized. We film on these days, we upload on these days, we block off time for, all the things that we needed to do. And I think that was probably some of the biggest takeaways and learnings, is just getting that very organized, and then letting our community know at an early, like as soon as we started reacting to anime, it was like, we're gonna react to Demon Slayer, and we'll upload one video every Friday at this time exactly. And we told everyone that. We put it in the description, and I think that really helped because people just knew. Where I see like a lot of channels, and even on my first channel, it was kind of just upload whenever we can. Like we'll just, we'll try to upload 3 to 5 times a week, and which, it can work for some people, but yeah, early on, I think being organized, deliberate, and just kind of transparent about your target in terms of upload and stuff is huge.
Right. Of course. Yeah. And yeah, also just developing that on camera again, like, comfortability, just being able to like, be your natural self on camera. How did that sort of relationship develop or evolve between you and Michelle once you got started? And you had the experience of doing that for a little bit, but then you also were sort of learning the ropes of like just anime, and then the new channel and everything, just like that dynamic of balancing that out.
Yeah, what's funny? You mentioned like being comfortable in front of the camera and stuff. Michelle was so nervous. She actually like hated being in front of the camera. It was to the point where, and I share this with everyone, she had to drink a glass of wine before and during all of our first for like the first, I would say, I don't know, 4 to 6 months. Granted, it was only, once a week, and then it developed to twice a week. So it's not like she's just, going on a bender every night, but she really, like, that was how she got over her fear and insecurities, if you will, because she's pretty introverted, which is also, for the record, for anyone watching, and for anyone who cares, which is why she wasn't interested in doing something like this. Like, she does not like public speaking. So she just had to get comfortable with that. But I went to school for it was communications in college, but I minored in public relations, and which came with a lot of public speaking classes.
Of course,
I loved kind of the adrenaline of public speaking, and so I've got fairly comfortable with it the more that I did it. And I was always challenging myself at work, wanting to run our all hands and community events and any public speaking opportunity. I'd be like, oh, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that definitely translated over to when we started recording. And then with Michelle, I just let her know, like, I'll take the lead and I'll kind of drive a lot of the conversation until she started getting more and more comfortable. And then now it's kind of second nature and she doesn't think about it, at all. I don't know if
Okay.
that's exactly kind of the question or direction
No,
you were hoping to go, but yeah.
yeah, no, that answers it perfectly. Honestly,
Okay.
because yeah, you both have such a natural chemistry on screen. Like you would never guess that she has any reservations about it. But I totally understand, the concern, or not the concern, but just like the again reservations of public speaking, being in the hot seat for that stuff like that. I'm naturally also very introverted, so this itself has taken a lot of effort to sort of overcome
Yeah.
and just be here today. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, you're crushing it. You're crushing
I
it.
appreciate that. And yeah, as you got again started with the channel, you started with Demon Slayer, like you mentioned, and you said in that opening video that you had been familiar with like the large IPs like Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, stuff like that. So like the really sort of Americanized, accessible IPs for American audiences. And this was your first foray into like deeper anime. Do
Right.
you recall your initial thoughts about anime, the medium, and when you got started? Or were there any specific reservations you had about like how come you never got into it in the first place?
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I'm pretty sure I was pretty transparent about this early on as well, but I just, I always felt because it was animated that it had to be made for kids.
Hmm.
It's a childish, it's cartoons essentially.
Right.
And so that was kind of my preconceived like bias, and a reason why I never got into it. I just
Mhm.
didn't think it would relate, or it was, childish and immature and all those things. And then within episode one, and I even, when Michelle and I decided to do anime, I was hesitant because I was like, I'm not gonna want to actually sit here and watch anime. And I was like, what if I hate it after episode one?
Right.
And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, she agreed. She's like, if you do, then we'll just stop and we'll do something else. Like our channel was so new that
Mhm.
the audience wouldn't matter, or it wouldn't matter to the audience. They wouldn't care.
Right.
Um, so yeah, but within episode one, even like after episode one, I mean, this is why for anyone, I've then went on and encouraged a lot of like my friends and people who haven't started watching anime to start with Demon Slayer,
Mhm.
because granted, I know there's a lot of opinions out there about, how mid it is or whatever,
Right.
but from an animation standpoint and a storytelling standpoint and all the things for an anime noob, for my first anime, because yes, I'd watched Pokemon and I'd seen some episodes of Dragon Ball Z, but again, very Americanized, and those were in English. For my
Mhm.
first anime, this was like, I was hooked. I was like, this story is so, like, I need to know more. And then, within a handful of episodes, like, my emotions were going crazy. And I was just so blown away at like how invested I was. And it really just opened my eyes to how anime, like the storytelling, the character development, the
Right.
messages within them, all these things are so much deeper than I think anyone understands or realizes it, aside from those who actually watch it.
Right, of course, yeah. My partner, she had the same sort of preconceived notion about anime. She thought it was Pokemon, it was Yu-Gi-Oh, it was a thing for kids. I
Mm-hmm.
showed her Attack on Titan. That was her first anime, and
Ooh.
that sort of was her entry into the whole world of it. And you're right, Demon Slayer. I know there's, like you said, a lot of debates on like the quality of it and like that, but I think it does have that sort of like really strong cinematic feeling that can
Mm-hmm.
hook like a new audience member, and it's just like reaching those high levels of adrenaline and hype and so on. And it's easy. It's a really accessible one to start with. And when you started, with that channel and those reactions, as well as identical reactions, it was in the early 2020s. Like you said, you were just like trying to make content just to sort of figure things out for yourself. That was obviously in the pandemic boom that we've had of like reaction channels. Do you recall what those first few years were like, just dealing with the world at large and life in general, but also trying to like build these channels up at the same time?
Yeah, I remember, yeah, the pandemic was by far the main kind of driving factor as to why my brother and I started the channel, which then led to Michelle and I starting the channel.
Right.
Um, I just remember thinking that we were all stuck at home, and it just felt like a no-brainer. Everyone should either create content or put themselves out there in some way, shape, or form. and this is kind of like a sign. We're all stuck at home and we're missing kind of human interaction. And this was a great way to do that. So I do remember feeling that way early on. And I also remember thinking like from a business standpoint, it also made sense because every company started going virtual, work from home. And so it started becoming more realistic from just an everyday lifestyle standpoint to be able to do this while you're working remote. It became a lot harder when I had to go back into the office and then you have to drive home to do it versus kind of being able to set it up and being home and doing it, in between meetings or whatever. Former bosses, I swear I never did it on the clock, but yeah. But I 100% agree that the pandemic was like a trigger for the spring, the like motivation to like, let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that era, just like with a lot of people, like you said, like I know personally, who learned how to just navigate online streaming and like content creation, stuff like that. Like new tools were popping up every week about like, Zoom and like StreamYard, all this stuff to help you
Yep.
just get that started. Everyone kind of became a little more, internet savvy. That sort of like really changed the way like the whole landscape, developed at that time. And when you started, say, the reactions itself, did you have any sort of specific or obstacles to overcome when it came to the TV show format of reactions compared to what you were doing with your brother before that, which was like sort of like the K-pop and other type of reactions?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, editing slightly would be the one thing. So with the first channel, it was primarily just music videos. And so with music videos, what was cool is we weren't necessarily doing it for money. Like the videos that we put up, almost everything was copyright claimed, not blocked, not strike, claimed, which to us is like, okay, cool. We can't make any money on it, but that's fine as long as we can share our reactions and we're growing, we're building a community. Awesome. With TV shows, you can't show the whole show or else it gets blocked. But it was pretty quickly I realized that you just had to kind of cut it up every so often and do some zoom ins, change the transparency.
Right.
And then with that, you could actually avoid getting even claimed, which was a new thing. So I was like, okay, cool. So I would say that was the biggest distinguisher. And then also time. So sitting and reacting to a music video, 10-minute process, sitting and reacting to, a TV show, whether it's 30 minutes or an hour, that's a hell of a lot longer. And then that's more time to edit. And that's more file storage space. But I would say like as soon as you get started, after a while, it all kind of becomes second nature. And then any money that we did make, we immediately started outsourcing editing because that was just such a huge time consumer for me for the first 6 months. I mean, I wasn't going out. I sat home, and if I wasn't filming, I was editing. And it was like that on the weekends. It was like that. And so getting that freedom back opened up a whole new world because then we could react to more stuff, which, and it's a whole cycle at that point because then you make more money and then you can pay your editor and eventually you become profitable.
Yeah, it's a snowball effect. You got to try to really push to get it rolling at first. And yeah, like when you figure out the format for reactions and TV shows and so on, it opens a lot of doors once you crack the code, so to speak, of how to be able to keep those up, and it helps a lot. And again, sticking with like the anime and the runs that you've done so far, you're currently revisiting Naruto with your brother. After having finished it kind of recently with Michelle. I saw your recent video where you accidentally let Kisame's name slip in the beginning, and like it's like, oh no, like the type of thing you kind of have to like look out for when you're now the one in control and sort of like guiding the other. I guess what has that experience been like for you to now go back to the show as a sort of experienced viewer and helping your brother sort of get through that?
It is so awesome. It's the first time, because if I'm gonna be vulnerable and transparent with everyone watching right now, It took me a long time before it was hard for me to even comprehend why so many people were watching reactions. I
Mhm.
was just like, I don't get it. Like even on our own channels, Michelle and I, when we watched, let's say, the biggest video that we had, and it's still to date, was Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train
Mhm.
reaction, and that video. I don't remember the exact rate at which it grew, but it was our first like million view video, and I was just like, it's so crazy to me that so many people want to watch others watch something they've already watched, right?
Right. Yeah.
Now with my brother rewatching Naruto, it's clear as day because I'm actually enjoying it more than watching it for the first time. Because watching it for the first time, you don't know what to expect.
Right.
Yes, it's a one of a kind of experience. Naruto is my favorite anime,
Mhm.
if anyone's wondering at this point. But I'm still very early on in Bleach and One Piece, so. But um, but now that I'm getting to watch it and I know what to expect, it's such a better experience because I'm just so excited for the experiences that he's going to get to experience
Right.
for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I very like within the first episode, I was like, I totally understand now why so many people
Yeah.
love watching reactions. And it's this huge thing because I'm addicted to every episode that I watch with Brandon. I'm just like, oh, you have no idea. And it's the coolest experience ever. And I would advise anyone, if you have that opportunity to, watch some of your favorite shows with someone, obviously do that. But you also can get it vicariously through others
Mhm.
in the form of reactions. But it's amazing. I swear I enjoy it more than watching it blind. And
Right.
we're also doing Attack on Titan as well. He
Mhm.
has watched season 1 already, but I can't wait until we get into like season 3, 4, and like
Yeah.
so the feeling is just amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. It's it's being able to relive those experiences vicariously through them, but then you see it in a new light because you're obviously seeing it through their lens and how they're
Yeah.
experiencing it. And yeah, that's why I really love the reaction space. Like I get to relive these really great movies and shows again and again with more people that I find, and then learn more about it through their experiences because like they're seeing it in ways that I didn't, and they're enlightening me upon like just what a experience like that might be for someone like who's like a person of color or like a woman or whatever. Just like how they sort of like process that really helps me sort of like digest the material even further. And yeah, with your communication skills that you've had with your brother and with Michelle, I think that is really shines through with the reactions itself. You both, all three of you, have such great on camera, just like again, chemistry, positivity with material. You engage with it on like a really fundamental level that I think is like so genuine. And like, how has that evolved or like developed over the years that you've been with the channel? Has it gotten easier? Have you learned more about each other or yourselves through that process?
Yeah, definitely we've learned a lot more. I mean, Michelle and I, it's crazy. I mean, we lucked out, but to I spend almost every moment with my wife. Like we work
Hmm.
together, we go to the same gym. Like everything is done together, and we're lucky that we have a relationship in which we're not like at each other's throats, and it's cool because watching anime together and shows in general is essentially us going on these different journeys together,
Hmm.
crying together, being mad and happy together, and all those things. But yeah, the dynamics is also something that we've been reflecting on a lot. Like, how were we when we first started versus now? Because I think as we developed and our community grew, I do find a sense of it's kind of this it's an ironic relationship because we're now way more comfortable and we talk to our audience and we know we have thousands of people that are going to be watching this,
Hmm.
whereas early on we don't know if anyone's going to watch it, right? Like early on it's like maybe we get 100 views, maybe, and so having, I don't know, there's like more pressure, I guess, for us to think about our audience.
Hmm.
And we reflect a lot on, is that hurting us as reactors? Like, are we getting away from the reason why people signed up and want sub to us and want to watch us is because of us just genuinely sharing our experience watching the show versus constantly thinking about how does our audience feel about our reaction? How should we be? Should we be crying? Should we? And so this is something that is, and we do this full time, and like we film and react every single day. And so it's something that we all sometimes almost need to like take a break, take a step back, realign, and just kind of remember our why, remember what got us here in the first place, and not get too caught up in like trying to be the most entertaining and like we have to be funnier and louder and cry more, and basically staying true to who we are and being genuine, I think is just like the thing that we kind of are focusing a lot on right now, actually. We just developed a rule. Funny enough, we're going to be releasing a video on YouTube probably tomorrow in our community. And we're going to be sharing with them that we are taking 1 week off, a full week off of filming and uploading 4 times a year. So every quarter we're taking, so essentially kind of like a job in which you get, PTO.
Right.
We're doing that as like a mental reset so that we can kind of, it's easy to get, lost in the trees basically.
Of course.
So yeah.
No, that's obviously important. Like I'm really happy to hear that, because I mean, that's something I always advocate for, is like, you got to have those times off. You can't just keep going every week nonstop, indefinitely. You burn out, you get tired, things get stale. It's always great to have like sort of, that break. If you can schedule it out, it's even better, because then you can anticipate it, you can know about it, your audience can know. And I think like if you build the community that you have, they're really receptive to that. They understand, how much you're putting into it, what you're giving them, and what they can give back to you with their patience. And reflecting on, yes, the dynamics of, engaging with the audience is so important, because I've heard that from other reactors as well, where they say like, hey, like, please, one example, don't hype up a specific episode. Don't say like, oh my God, you guys are going to go so crazy on episode like 89 or whatever, because that sets like expectations of like, oh, are we feeling this the way that they want us to? Are we like hitting the highs that they think we should? Are we hitting like the emotional parts the right way? So you don't want to have that in your head when you're trying to have a genuine experience with the material, which is why they're there in the first place.
Yeah. And then after you react and upload something, this is also kind of a double-edged sword, reading comments, because then when you get feedback or criticism that's like, I can't believe they didn't cry at this part, or wow, they completely didn't comment on this happening, then you start getting in your head of like, crap, we need to make sure we do this. And again, it kind of, there's this balance of like, you want to give your audience kind of what you hope to meet their expectations, but you can't forget the point, which is you're being you got to be just genuine, your genuine reaction.
Right.
And so that's at least our mindset in theory. I think there are reactors out there who have a different kind of mindset. I think there are reactors out there who are extremely entertaining, almost to the point where it's like they're acting, but at the same time, it's like brilliant and it works. And that's what their audience wants. And that's what they enjoy doing. And so everyone has their own approaches.
Yeah.
And then there are like the people who are way like analytical. I think that's what's so cool about the reaction space is there's so many ways to have success and to build community and audience, because not one reactor is going to be liked by everyone no matter what. Like everyone has their own taste. So it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I love the space as well. It's like, it's a rare field of work where like no one really steps on each other's toes, because everyone's just so different in their approach. And you might get those comments of like, oh, I can't believe they didn't react this way to this part, so on. But it's important to remember that that's just, the sort of link not connecting with that specific person maybe. And like, that's not an indictment on you and your, experience. And like, you will find people who will sort of, connect with you the way, you want to express yourself naturally. And like, I really appreciate that the space in general, like a lot of the fans and viewers understand that, and they'll find the right avenues for them, for like the right person that they want to engage with in that sense. And yeah, just reflecting on, the dynamics between you and your brother and Michelle, and figuring out, like, how do you guys keep the balance between one another and like the workload. Do you have any practices or, like, tactics off camera to sort of like just maintain those relationships so it doesn't feel like everything is work, that it just consumes everything in your personal life?
Yeah. It's definitely splitting up and balance. So I've done it long enough now to where, and this is for all three of us, we just need to make sure. At one point, like Michelle and I, we've tried so many different schedules where we've tried where let's just film for 6 hours, 3 days a week.
Mhm.
And then we have like 2 or 3 days where we just don't have to film, but we filmed enough to where we have the whole week's content. We've also had like, like everything you could think of, 2 hour blocks, 7 days a week. There's different ways to approach it. What we have found that works best is not needing to like sit and watch something for more. Our kind of zone where we start kind of losing it, or it starts feeling like it can just be work,
Yeah.
is right around 2 hours to 2.5 hours. Aside from movies, because like we watch the Star Wars movies, those are like 3 hours a piece.
Right.
That's a little different because it's like all one kind of nonstop thing. But so understanding that we kind of have this limit, we then kind of factor that in for all of our scheduling. And so like with my brother, it's like, okay, we need to film X amount of time per week. If we're not going to do more than a 2 hour block, we'll break it up 3 days a week. We're going to film for 2 hours.
Right.
And then Michelle and I will film 7 days a week for 2 hours. And it kind of hits this perfect balance. But that means that 3 days a week, I'm like the common denominator. 3 days a week, I'm actually filming 4 hours. However, this is why I love what we're doing with identical reactions. And I wouldn't say like our views or anything are out of the water, out of the park. But the beauty in what we're doing is like I could care less, because it is so freaking enjoyable to rewatch Naruto and to rewatch Attack on Titan with him. And we are watching The Walking Dead as well, which we are both watching for the first time.
Yeah.
But that is going to be my big piece of advice. And I tell this to a lot of people. If you're genuinely watching something that you enjoy, that almost should be your top priority. Mm-hmm. Set aside like your idea of I need to react to what's trending or what's getting views. Sure, if you actually have a true interest in that. But other than that, like, because again, the views don't matter, because 3 days a week when my brother comes over, it's a good time because we're watching amazing freaking shows. So I tell that to people constantly. I understand that a lot of people still do their own editing or like to or have to or whatever. That is different, because I do think, depending on your viewpoint on editing, that can just feel like work a lot of times. But again, if you at least choose shows that you love, that's my big advice. Choose something that you'd be watching regardless if you had a channel or not, and just forget the camera's on you. Talk, share, forget the camera's on you. But if you're a solo reactor, just express your thoughts. That's what, like, the easiest kind of way to comprehend it. Just forget the camera's there, but share what's on your mind. Or if you're a dual or group reactor, just talk. So, yeah.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's all fantastic advice. I mean, I love the breakdown of the scheduling and everything, because like it's such an important aspect of, like you said, you're juggling all these different aspects. You have to have sort of like a clear schedule of like, what's going to go here, when's there, because otherwise you can't get really swamped by just the overwhelming amount of work that goes into it. And, you talked about it a little bit before, with like just the emotional range that you have to display on camera with your brother or with Michelle, specifically the vulnerability, I think, that comes with reactions and just like that when it hits you. A lot of reactors deal in the trade of like, tears. That's like such a big part of like, their experience, like that kind of who they are engaging with the material. There have been a few times where you both, and Michelle, and you cry on camera, depending on what the show is. And I guess I asked this for a handful of other people, but I want to ask you, how do you sort of approach those moments when, especially just like, in our society, male vulnerability is really sort of like frowned upon and not embraced as much. Just being able to be on camera and like share your emotions like that in a genuine fashion. I guess what kind of goes through the thought process when you feel those big scenes coming on and you kind of want to like stay true to your own experience?
Yeah. That's what's crazy is I've cried. I mean, within my first year of watching anime, I cried more times in that year than I had since I like was a kid or since I could remember.
Right.
I mean, for almost a decade, I'd only cried once, and it was because my best friend passed away.
Hmm.
Um, and then I watched anime, and I felt like I was like crying every month.
Right.
And so I give all like credit to two things with me just kind of opening up and being vulnerable. The two things, one is anime, and then two is the community. So I think the very first time I cried on camera was actually the Mugen Train.
Hmm.
And if you watch it, I was trying so hard not to cry because I hadn't cried on camera yet. Again, at that point, I hadn't cried at all, except for that one time in a decade, right?
Right.
But I was fighting back tears. I was like, don't cry, like don't be like I had all these judgment or what I thought people would judge me for. Like, I can't cry over this. This is just and I was fighting it back and fighting, and I was drinking water. And ironically, I think that was one of the reasons why that video did so well, because half the comments was like either mad at me for drinking the water, mad at me for not letting the tears out. But then another large part of the comments were like, bro, I understand exactly how you feel. Like, you fighting back those tears was so relatable. And anyways, and so that was kind of like the first one. And then when I cried again, I believe it was, I want to say it was Attack on Titan. And basically it's the support from the community. Like, so many males, females were just like, you're not alone. Like, I bawled my eyes out watching this. And like, I understand, being ashamed to cry, but trust me, like, I understand why you cried. And getting dozens and dozens of community members reach out and start DMing and almost like opening my eyes that it's okay, and I just, I didn't, my family, like growing up, my family, we didn't show a lot of emotion, but it wasn't until doing this and really getting feedback from people, it really made me think like, okay, it's okay to show my emotion.
Right.
And that's really where I'm at now. And I just feel like I'm so much more emotional than I've ever been, but it feels, I'm not afraid of it. Like, I'm
Right.
totally okay with it. And I almost welcome it. Also, it obviously does good with views, because usually if I'm crying, that means it's probably a really big episode. And like,
Right.
that's usually a good thing, from a reaction standpoint. But I'm just so like, if I feel, I'm not fighting it back like I used to. I used to just want to hide it. So I give all credit to anime, the shows, the storytelling, and then also the community for making it feel normalized and accepted. And even like, people even like went out and said, I'm motivated, inspired, and like proud of you, because I can tell you're just like me. And I can tell, like, so many people said that you're just like me.
Right.
And I can tell you didn't want to, but you did. So it's really cool.
Yeah, opening yourself up to that aspect is like really important, I think, just for the reaction space. Again, being able to share that with people and let them feel seen by your response to the material is important. Of reason why these communities build and like what it does for the audience as a whole, because you get to see these sort of inner workings of like a personal reaction to like a show or a movie that they really love. It's been a process, I think, with empathy is a part of like helps with that. I've personally grown a lot more emotional about shows and movies that I watch since I've been with my partner for the last 5 years, just seeing how sort of she engages with the material and just understanding sort of like what different people go through and how these shows represent the struggles of others. That helps me sort of like engage with it and feel emotional when it wants me to. You with Michelle, and again over the last year, it's been a big development because you got married last year in Korea, which I saw, and that was really cool to see. Was there discussion around the marriage, just getting into like the balance with the channel and stuff like that? I talked to another channel, Misha and D, who just got married this past year as well, and they had the same sort of dynamic where they were building the channel while also they started dating through an app, the same thing over the pandemic. Again, when you just popped the question and got into the process of getting the wedding going, was there any sort of like discussion of like, okay, here's again the schedule, the planning of like how we're going to manage this with the channel flow, or was it just like the channel will come after the wedding stuff gets figured out? We'll separate those two.
Yeah, no, so it was all planned in advance. And so before we even got to the point of knowing I was going to ask her to marry me, our channel, we had already been doing it full time, I think for about a year.
Mhm.
And our channel was doing really well. And so what we had planned on taking this trip, and we basically, anytime we were planning on doing any sort of trips, we not only do we film ahead, far enough ahead to where our community won't miss anything, but we also bring our camera and film wherever we travel.
Mhm.
It's one of the coolest things that we're able to do. One of the coolest kind of benefits or perks
Yeah.
of doing this full time is all you need is essentially headphones, laptop, and a camera.
Right.
And so there wasn't much, like it was pretty seamless because I think we traveled kind of a lot, like I think we would take about 3 trips a year, which feels like a lot, because they would be like a 1-week trip. We did 2 months in Europe, but it was always factored in that we are not going to miss uploads. Like
Right.
we're not missing uploads. Like sure, we'll take a couple days off for our wedding, right? Like yes, those things happen, but I think it just we never really factored in. It just was second nature to make sure that we had all our content planned out ahead of time, or we communicated with our audience reasons why we're not going to be able to film.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good you had that practice of the traveling and so on to build up that that backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah, most recently, you put out a video on your personal channel that you have, for your personal vlogs, stuff like that, about life being too short. That was sort of the subject of the video, and I
Yeah.
watched that, and that was I coincidentally watched that on the day that I sort of came to the conclusion that I'm going to take this channel independent and like sort of like move on, and just do this whole thing myself without the backing of like a company or anything. And it came out at a perfect time for me personally to like hear your words, your thoughts on that, and just like sort of like remind myself about what you were saying, just appreciating the things that make you feel fulfilled, like not getting too much into the grind of like feeling overwhelmed by work and like what you have accomplished, what you want to accomplish. And I guess when you're able to sort of sit down and reflect and like share those thoughts, I guess how does that feel along with all the other stuff that you do on your personal channel, just in terms of the balance with the work? Does it help you reflect as well? Are you able to take that with you into the work once you get back into the swing of things?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you for watching the personal channel of mine. I don't want to offend any of the communities that I have, both GVG and Sushi Squad. However, I'm like most proud of that channel because though it's smaller, it doesn't get, crazy amounts of views or virality or anything. It's just, I feel like everything that I'm putting out is just positively impacting at least one person, one viewer, or I'm at least putting in the effort to where one day it will. And not that, we're not on the other channels, and not that our other channels don't positively impact people, because I know they do, but it's just different. And it's become somewhat of so I'm a big journaler. That channel has been, it motivates me more than anything. Because on that channel, I want to show everything that I'm doing with the growth of the channels. So I want people to be able to go back and see where I was physically, financially, where my channels were 5 years ago, that you can just scroll and go to those videos. So I want to just, show the entire journey and then share, inspire, and motivate those along the way. Because I'm just like a huge believer in us being main characters. That's kind of like the theme of that channel, is like,
Mhm.
we are all main characters. And honestly, kudos to you for kind of making the decision to do this solo. I think that's so dope. And you're not going to regret that, right? I think you could always most likely like try to go another route where maybe you get help or you partner with someone or get funding.
Right.
But going solo, like you can't, like, that's something you got to do and try first before you do anything else. So,
Right.
but yeah, that channel is so special to me. And I don't ever want to stop documenting and sharing and vlogging and motivating and inspiring. But yes, it plays a huge factor in what I do, both on a YouTube perspective and also like a physical. I'm documenting like my physical transformation journey.
Right.
And I feel like I have this community that is watching every step. And when you have that mentally, it's like accountability as
Right.
well.
Sure.
And so it's invaluable. So sure, if I wanted to, I could just stop uploading on that channel and then just kind of drop the ball in a lot of different areas, but I'm not going to do that. And like keeping that channel going is just so important to me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, thanks for bringing that channel up.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, it came at the perfect time for me, just like that specific day. It was like kismet, as my girlfriend says. Like it was really perfect for me to hear your words from that channel. So it meant a lot to me. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's perfect that it came out that day. And yeah, everything you sound like everything that I said that resonated with you is just, yeah, it's so true. I mean, time is moving for all of us. And time, it's like as you get older, time moves faster. And I just tell this to, like, you don't want 1 year to pass and you to be in the exact same situation. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter what it is, like for you doing this or what, starting a YouTube channel or little things, start drawings, just have something to show. And even if it's attempts at things that didn't work out, that's still something to show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big advocate for that. And yeah, again, kudos to you. I'm so excited I feel like I'm now more invested in watching your journey on this and Reactorverse and the YouTube channel and the podcast and seeing it succeed.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Start tying things up here. I guess what has been the most consistent obstacle that you've faced over years with the channel?
Ooh, good questions. Okay, one of the biggest things is, especially with rice and ginger, which we're gonna make an announcement tomorrow. That's the video that I referenced, but I don't think this will go up before then. But even if it does, it should be fine. One of the big obstacles that we kind of fell into is this trap of we need to put out more content to make more money. This was something that I think you can only learn through experience. So like you have to do it to understand. But our biggest obstacle is like we've taken on too much. We start watching too many shows. I'm the first to like just be my own kind of critic, and a lot of the community roasts me because my memory sucks. I forget people's names and something that happened in 10 episodes ago, because a majority of the last like year we've been watching anywhere from 8 to 12 anime at a time. And when you schedule that, it's like every day we're watching. So like one day it'll be like One Piece, like it'll be like 3 different shows. And then the next day it'll be 3 new shows, not those. And then the next day it'll be 3 new shows. So by the time we get back to One Piece, which let's say we watched on Monday, it'll be Thursday night. And then we've already watched a dozen or 10 other anime shows with a bunch of names and plots. And we're not like also taking time to, which we also get criticism for. We're not like making notes of every character and plot, because that then would turn it into work for us. Like we don't want it to feel like homework. We want to enjoy it. So long story short, that has been a huge hurdle. But the announcement that we're going to make tomorrow, which I think our community, we may even take a financial hit for it, but I think our community ultimately is going to be like happy and excited. We're going to be tallying back how many shows we react to. So what that means is like our Patreon exclusive shows, we're going to be removing one. And so that's like a tier is no longer going to have that, but we're going to add another day of one of like the main shows that we watch, like the One Piece, the Bleach, these shows that are going to take us years to finish.
Right.
So the goal is to really dial it down to where we're really only focusing on maybe 5 shows, but we're watching those 5 shows way more frequently. We're going to be more involved in it, more kind of committed and dedicated and excited and knowledgeable. And so I think ultimately it'll end up as a net positive, but I think initially there may be some people unhappy, but at the end of the day, we know that that's going to be a win for us as well.
Yeah, of course.
Because you feel way more connected to characters in the show when you're watching it consistently versus how we kind of have done it. But we looked up to a lot of, and you guys had your boy Roshi on. I swear they're like robots. I don't understand how they watch as much as they watch. They're like some of our biggest role models in terms of like who we look up to, and they're OGs and goats for a reason. They've been doing it for a long time. They just watch so many shows. And I think we always thought like, if we want to get as big as them, we have to also watch as many shows, but they just might comprehend things better than us, or their schedule might be better, or whatever it is. No reaction channel is the same.
Right.
So, but yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest hurdle is like taking on too much, thinking we needed to.
Yeah. You definitely want to balance that out. Like you said, if it's difficult to connect with a show and characters when you watch one episode, then in between episodes, it's 5-10 other things that you have to also sort of learn and keep track of. It's definitely a trap that I think a lot of people could fall into, is to feel like I need to watch, multiple different things to have enough content to put out. Whereas I think the plan that you have is really smart, especially for shows like One Piece and Bleach to have such a long run. You can like put the same workload out, but it's like focused within like a smaller window of like, shows that are you're going to be focused that you have out. So it's really smart.
For sure. Yeah.
And how do you feel you've personally grown over the years with the channel?
Man, I think in so many ways, once you go, or if you're able to make it full time in content creation, there's like a level of confidence that you get that's like crazy to like the moment you realize I can make enough to survive just by creating my own content. There's a lot of like freedom in that. Versus having a 9-to-5. And my brother works a 9-to-5. I actually sometimes miss having a 9-to-5 because I was like, I loved having an office and, anyways.
Right.
I feel like you get so much confidence in yourself because there's this realization that you can do anything. We, and both Michelle and I, it's like, God forbid, but if the channel just disappeared tomorrow, YouTube disappeared, it's like, we wouldn't immediately go, oh crap, we need to find a job. We would go, okay, we need to start a new channel. We need to find another platform, but we know we can do it. It might not be the same level of success. It might grow slower, but once you kind of have done it, you can do it. And that is, I don't know, there's this freedom, which has led me to want to teach others to do it. So we don't need to dive into it too much, but I did create a community where, and I'm going to be launching another YouTube channel teaching people how to do reaction channels.
That's awesome.
So in the future, you and I definitely, we can like link up, and because I'm hoping there'll be like some overlap there, but because I now want others to experience what we've experienced. And I think a lot of people can, once they get over the hurdle of like fear of other people's judgment and probably misconceived ideas of how hard it is and the equipment needed. It's really not as hard as people think.
Right.
But anyways, so that's where a lot of growth has come in, is like this kind of empowering feeling, for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that is bolstered by the community, the specific names that you can, call upon, know that they'll be there to support you
Yep.
through any sort of bumps you may have, and that's really the strength of when it comes to these channels, specifically reaction channels, who are people who get to know you really well on a personal level. And then it leads into our final question for the main part here. Beyond any monetary or financial value, what is the most rewarding aspect of the channel for you?
I mean, it's the DMs of like the community that we've built and how many people have DM'd us, both Rice and Ginger and in GVG. I'll leave kind of the personal channel out because that's kind of geared towards that. But so many people who have watched us from day one, from our very first Demon Slayer, have let us know that like they don't have friends IRL in real life to watch anime with,
Right.
but we provide that for them. Like so many people have expressed how we have helped them through dark times, troubling times, because it feels like they're watching right next to us in the same room. They're watching with friends or family.
Yeah.
That is like being able to, like, we have to remind ourselves that, like, take a step back. If ever we're feeling like, man, our views are down, Patreon isn't growing like it used to, or, these little minor things that can stress us out, we have to remember how many lives choose to watch us every single day,
Right.
because of the experience that we provide and the joy that we bring. And, people like the stories of like people from all across the world in literally third world countries scrapping up money to join our Patreon because we are, what they look forward to every night after school or work, or they wake up early to watch our reactions before they go to school or work. Like, it's mind blowing. And it's just such a reminder. It ties into what we talked about earlier, like just having an impact. I talk about that in that channel.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I don't ever want to stop this, is just being able to positively impact people.
Of course.
It's insane. There's like no money, no amount of money or check can make you feel or make me feel the way that I feel and I know this sounds corny and it's like, yeah, right, dude. But knowing that you're actually changing someone's life is so invaluable. And in that video, I talk about it. It's like, we are all going to die. I don't want to get super morbid, but when that happens, money is not going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
When we're on our deathbeds, so it's the impact. It's how did you make people feel? And we're able to do that through our content and through reactions. And that's mind boggling. It's crazy to think about.
I mean, yeah, I'm that's a big reason why I love the reaction space. I think it elevates the internet as a whole, just with like a lot of positive interactions in a time where I think we really need that. And that's why I'm really passionate about this channel and like this work. Is just because I would think it's important that someone like if I can take up that mantle, elevates you guys and in your work and like shows how much appreciation you have and also how much work goes into doing that on a day-to-day basis. And so like I personally thank you, and I know the audience does too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm still super cool that you reached out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We do have our final questionnaire, which we give to everyone, which is just 10 questions down the line for everyone.
Okay.
So first question is, what is your favorite TV show of all time?
Naruto.
Oh,
TV show outside of anime, I guess.
we can take anime specifically if you like. Yeah.
Well, if we're talking not outside of anime, I would say it's probably Vikings.
That's a great one as well. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Naruto was my number one anime for a while. Now it's like paired with Attack on Titan. They feel like two sides of the same coin in terms of just like the messaging about war and like forgiveness, so on. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Attack on Titan is a top 3, and Demon Slayer is my second, and that's because it was my first. It has like a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
But I think after watching Attack on Titan for the second time, there's a chance it jumps. So we'll see.
Of course. What is your favorite film of all time?
Oh, that is tough. I want to say that the first thing that comes to mind is A Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also Avatar as well is definitely up there. The first
Right.
Avatar,
Right. Yeah.
not the last Airbender, the Navi.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, two great picks as well.
yeah.
What stresses you out?
Stresses me out.
Yes.
Um, I would say missing uploads. Um, even if it's like getting sick or something in life happens, it sucks.
Yep.
But like things have happened in our life where it's like Michelle's mom needs to go to the hospital,
Right.
a pet dies, and it stresses me out that when that happens, we let our community know, and like majority of them totally understand. But like, hey, we're not gonna be able to upload for the next couple days. But we also get a lot of shit for it. People are like, how all you do is watch anime. How do you not have this or have it backlogged or and it stresses me out. Like you always want to make people happy, but it's like understanding that you can't keep everyone happy.
Yeah. There's we gotta hold on to the ratio, like I say. You got the good ratio compared to the very small minority of the bad.
Exactly.
What helps you relax?
Video games. I try my best. I would say 3 to 5 nights a week to play some sort of video game at night. Recently, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3. It's
Nice.
such a good game.
Yeah.
I still haven't beat it, so.
Yeah, it's funny. I haven't had much time to play video games over the last couple of years just because I've been so busy with this and other work. And I recently finished Split Fiction with my girlfriend. And that was really fantastic. If you and Michelle haven't played that yet, I would definitely recommend you guys playing that on a stream or something.
Yes.
It's such a fantastic game. It's like
Okay.
And my girlfriend, she won't even bemoan me for saying this, but she's terrible at video games. She's really bad, but she managed to get through this game really well, and it helped her learn how to play games better. So now she's actually going to play Jedi Fallen Order for the first time, and I'm actually, like you said, I'm having a greater time watching her play it than I did myself, just because seeing her interact with it for the first time is so great.
We'll check that out for sure. We actually just started playing It Takes Two, which is the same creators.
Yes.
And we love it. So that's definitely on our list, and we may even stream it. We've talked about it. So thank you for the rec.
This would be a super fun one to watch for sure.
Cool.
What is a hobby or passion you have outside of TV and film and video games, I guess?
I would say recently it's been fitness. Nothing specific, but because of my vlog channel, it has become something where it's like I need to show the progress that I can make because I want to inspire others and show them that you too can do it.
Yeah.
So it's just become a passion of mine to make sure I'm being physically active one way or another.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's obviously a very good one to have.
Yeah.
What fictional character do you relate to or just care deeply about?
Ooh. Rock Lee. The first person that comes to mind is Rock Lee.
It's a great one. Yeah.
Like being born without the talent, but just outworking people. I think that's huge. That's probably the best one. I mean,
that's a perfect answer, honestly.
Yeah,
it's really
good. I guess also somewhat Ragnar. Ragnar Lothbrok from Vikings.
Yeah.
Just because his being born as a farmer and then working his way to being a king, I'm like on my journey, but just can relate to a lot of overlapping themes there.
Of course, yeah. What is your guilty pleasure show or film?
Guilty pleasure show or film? Ooh, it's not even guilty because I honestly share it, but with people, I just love like murder documentaries, true crime.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like obsessed with it. Like I watch so much of it. I was going to start a reaction channel, just me by myself reacting to it because I watch like at least an hour of it a day, almost like if I'm doing chores or I'm in the shower, I'm just watching that. So it's kind of crazy. Michelle thinks it's scary.
Yeah, it's an interesting niche for sure. My partner's the same way. She'll watch that just like going to sleep. She'll put it on just to have it on the background. Yeah. What is a show or film that gave you your favorite reaction experience with the channel?
I think, ironically, I think it was Naruto. The Itachi. There's a scene with Itachi, and I don't want to give spoilers, but anyways, there's a scene in Naruto where a character they're brothers, and it just really hit home for me. And my reaction wasn't over the top, but I cried more than I ever have, and I know that's weird, going back to our conversation.
Yeah.
But that is probably what I think about most. Yeah, I mean, there has been some really like hype moments, but that's the first one that comes to my mind.
I mean, that's wonderful. Yeah. I mean, Itachi was
Yeah.
my favorite character in Naruto for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Good. Yeah.
my favorite one. Absolutely. So I'm excited to
sure.
see once you get further into the run with Brandon and see how that reaction is.
Me too. I think he's going to die. It's gonna be so good.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
What show or film do you wish you could erase from your memory and react to again for the first time on camera?
Ooh. Game of Thrones.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Game of Thrones. I loved Game of Thrones. That's like my second favorite show of all time. That's not anime.
Yeah.
And it would be my first if it wasn't for the last season, just my own personal opinion.
Yeah. I think
but
a lot of people have that opinion. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But the experience from start to finish, like if I could forget that and then watch it again, oh, so good. I'm gonna rewatch it again anyways, just because it's been like a decade and my brain already has forgotten a lot. But yeah, that's for sure it.
Yeah. It's a great one to go through again. I'm waiting to try to have a time to watch it with my parents to get them into it. The thing is, like, I need to be there to help them guide through with some of the names and places to get them started at first. So I'm going to do it one day. And the final question we have here is, what advice would you give to your past self if you can go back in time when you first started the channel?
Don't worry about those around you and other people's opinion. So I think we all get caught in this trap, but when I first started, I was working a full-time job, and I almost didn't want people to know, because like when you first start, you don't have views. You're not getting views. You don't have a lot of subs, and you just care about like your coworkers. You care about your old high school friends or college friends. You care about all these. You think that they're going to judge you for starting this journey.
Right.
And I luckily quickly got over that. But it still was like something in the back of my mind. And I would say, don't care about that at all. Like, put it on blast. I'm starting a YouTube channel,
right,
and be confident. If that's truly what you want to do, tell the world that my goal, I want to do YouTube full time, and that's what I'm going to do. And I know I'm not there yet, but just have faith and confidence in that. Versus I think I hid it from like my coworkers for a while until there was like enough views or subs that I felt kind of cool about it. And then I shared, and it's like, it doesn't matter. They don't care. In hindsight, like today, right, it's so funny looking back.
Yeah. The right people will support you through it. Yeah, like, that's
exactly.
I'm counting on. Yeah.
That's actually also really true. It does kind of shed some light on who's there to really support you. But yeah.
I appreciate those words again, particularly now, this being the first official solo interview that we've had for the channel for just the new era of it. And I appreciate you coming on today, man. That means a lot.
I'm honored, and honestly, I mean, if I can be of any assistance or help for you in the future, let me know. Also, at some point, if want to get my brother involved, I know he'd be down. Michelle, again, is still more of a question mark, but let me know. And I appreciate it. I'm honored to be the first on your solo adventure.
Yeah. Likewise, if you ever need help, let me know.
Awesome. All right. Will do.
You could find, where can we find you on social media, YouTube, otherwise? Yeah.
Personally, you can find me at RONJAXN. So Ron Jackson, RONJAXN. That's on all socials. But then my two main reaction channels are at Rice and Ginger and at Identical Reactions.
Perfect. You'll be finding this on the Reactorverse YouTube channel. You'll find us at the Reactorverse across social media. You'll find links to our Discord and Patreon down below, which we have building up now, but we have a lot of backlog stuff of like games and things that we have from years past that we've done with my partner, Drew Grant. And yeah, please support us there. Again, Our mission here is to support people like you, Ron, and everyone else in the reaction space, and lift up your stories and like your work. So anything that goes into our efforts goes back out into the community. So that's really what we're striving for here. So thank you everyone for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.